The Hearthstone leadership continues to surprise. On the eve of the new mini-set release, instead of focusing on improving the gameplay experience in Standard, they keep pushing gambling elements into Hearthstone despite widespread criticism. The Darkmoon Faire Treasures event has returned barely a month after its scandalous debut. For now, the new event has launched only in China. But this gives us a unique opportunity to measure the financial effectiveness of this strategy. Today, I intend to find out from our math guys just how much Blizzard earned by sacrificing yet another piece of their reputation.
Time to rock and roll!
Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Holomancer.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop. Guys, I want to brag a little, my prediction turned out to be right. Developers are perfectly content with the state of Standard, and no significant changes should be expected. Players convinced themselves of the illusion that the design philosophy must evolve, but clearly that was never in the team's plans.
Dora, we can only envy your sharp mind and deep understanding of Hearthstone.
A balance patch with only 2 card changes indirectly confirms that the team is, by and large, satisfied with the current state of Standard. The design philosophy won't change, though targeted balance fixes will of course continue. It seems the viability of new mechanics was never part of the plan. Personally, I see no reason to believe the mini-set release could somehow improve the situation. Recently, traditional mini-sets have only made things worse. The real question is, where are we hoping to get? If we want new ways to play, they can only emerge through new combo synergies. If we want quests to become playable, that requires overpowered components. I am convinced that strengthening quests is a big mistake. And we can already see the consequences of this in the rapid growth of Quest Warlock. If we expect an ideological shift that weakens decks built around abusing specific cards, this mini-set cannot deliver it. Not even a full rotation managed to achieve that.
We're starting to get concerned, because we already see signs of declining player interest. At least among the most dedicated audience using deck trackers. Player activity has dropped to its lowest point since the start of the year. The team spent too much time standing still, and now the first consequences are beginning to show. Against this backdrop, leadership continues with its controversial monetization strategy. Just over a month ago, the guys predicted that Darkmoon Faire Treasures events would become regular, replacing the sale of mythical skins at fixed prices and focusing instead on pet distribution. That was a logical guess. And we didn't have to wait long to see it confirmed. The speculative lottery has returned with a new jackpot. Guys, isn't this happening a little too often?
We keep reminding our audience that new forms of monetization are inevitable, and they have to become more controversial over time. Leadership has no choice but to pursue these measures, since traditional monetization models are losing financial efficiency.
We were prepared for unpleasant surprises, fully aware of their inevitability, yet the Hearthstone team still manages to astonish us. When I first saw the new prize pool for the latest Darkmoon Faire Treasures event, I was convinced it was fake. There was no way leadership could push out another event so soon, not after the previous wave of negativity. Besides, the more often this happens, the more overheated the economy becomes, and the less exclusive the rewards feel. That inevitably leads to each subsequent event bringing in less and less revenue. Even wealthy players cannot afford to spend $160 on a regular basis.
But it wasn't fake, it was harsh reality. The new lottery launched simultaneously with the start of the latest Battleground season, though so far only in China. This time, the main jackpot was the mythical Yogg Saron skin.
Lately, we've been especially critical of leadership's approach to finding new monetization strategies.
As players, we want Hearthstone to remain financially successful, because that's the only guarantee the game will continue to be supported as a live service. Our criticism isn't about the fact that they want to earn more money, but about the way their decisions harm the game while bringing almost no additional revenue. The management is throwing blow after blow at the game, and it is important for us to try to understand whether they are achieving their goal in commercial terms. Often, the choices are so absurd that predicting their financial failure isn't difficult. Replacing regular free boards with mythical skins is one such example. The approach was ineffective, so leadership turned to distributing those items through a gacha system. But with the Darkmoon Faire Treasures concept, things are a bit more complicated. According to mobile market statistics, selling a pet via gacha mechanics did show some signs of effectiveness. During the pre-release period of the Lost City of Ngoro expansion, when interest was declining, the pet release at least managed to offset some of the expected revenue loss. This means that despite loud criticism and demands to abandon the approach, part of the audience voted with their wallets, and that matters more than shouts, complaints, and protests.
Even our own audience showed interest in casino-style rewards, with every 9th viewer spending at least $2 on it. Many players chased after low-rarity items, while only a few went all the way for the grand prize pet. According to survey results, this manipulative approach brought Blizzard more revenue than selling the mythical Kerrigan skin at a fixed price.
There are signs of effectiveness, but what has always concerned us is the scale. How substantial is it really, and can it provide long-term financial stability?
Or is this just another experiment that brought more harm than good? Until the release of the latest event, it all remained a mystery for us, but that release shed light on many things.
But before we get to the answers, I'd like to briefly explain the concept of the Darkmoon Faire Treasures event. It's a pool of 10 cosmetic rewards of varying rarity, always including one unique jackpot. Players are offered one random reward for free, and each subsequent attempt costs progressively more, starting at $2 and eventually reaching $50. That makes the full set of rewards cost $158. The trick, however, is that the drop rates are heavily skewed, which can be very misleading. Each reward has a hidden weight value that directly influences its odds. The lower the value of an item, the higher its weight, and therefore the higher the chance of pulling it. This means that with each attempt, players are very likely to get one of the cheapest rewards, while the main prize has almost negligible odds until the very end, making it practically impossible to obtain without paying the full price for the entire set.
In general, gacha mechanics have long been a familiar part of the gaming industry. Such systems demonstrate remarkable effectiveness, especially on mobile platforms and particularly in the Asian market.
Right now, Diablo Immortal is running a major Hearthstone crossover event, and, surprise surprise, special cosmetics are sold using exactly the same model. The only difference is that in Diablo Immortal, unlike Hearthstone, all drop rates for specific rewards are displayed directly in the client. Leadership must be feeling desperate if they are copying mobile game systems wholesale. Speaking of gacha mechanics, we can't ignore Hearthstone Battlegrounds' only direct competitor, Teamfight Tactics. According to Sensor Tower, on all mobile devices worldwide, excluding China, TFT earned just under $3 million per month on average throughout 2024. Meanwhile, in China alone, and only on iOS devices, monthly revenue averaged just over $30 million. The longer we track data across multiple analytics sites, the more we realize the exact numbers may be approximate. But what matters here is the ratio, and it's staggering. Such an insane revenue gap is achieved precisely through the heavy implementation of gacha mechanics in the Chinese client.
Guys, are you suggesting Hearthstone has managed to achieve similar results, despite the limitations of the card game genre you always emphasize? Let me remind the audience, you've often claimed that the nature of the genre and its audience prevents cosmetic items from delivering impressive financial performance.
Let's finally put this to the test with data from AppMagic. We analyzed Hearthstone's position in the rankings of the highest grossing mobile apps, and compared it with the same period during the previous season.
This aligns with the release of the new Battleground season and its exclusive cosmetics. And here's what we found. Even though the new Darkmoon Faire Treasures event launched only in China, and these figures account solely for iOS data from that region, Hearthstone's position in the revenue rankings rose noticeably. At the start of the previous season in late April, the game ranked 95th among the world's top grossing apps. This time, Hearthstone reached 65th place, and for a week after release it maintained a visibly stronger trend. At first glance, the change on the graph doesn't look dramatic, but it could potentially translate into roughly $500,000 more compared to the previous period. As we've said before, the exact numbers are approximate. What matters to us is the ratio and the trend. Based on this, we estimate that revenue may have grown by 22% during the post-release week. What's more, notice the decline immediately after the release week. While the Chinese client showed a spike in financial performance after the patch, the rest of the world experienced the opposite trend. Players spent less compared to the same period during the Emerald Dream phase. This could be explained by the vacation season, or, more worryingly, by early signs of declining interest in the game due to problems in Standard. It's too early to draw firm conclusions.
It's important to note that our analysis focuses specifically on the mobile market, where gacha approaches are more familiar to players than on PC or Mac. On other platforms, the proportions may differ significantly, though I suspect the trend is similar. The differences in offers during these periods are also quite striking. In the previous phase, players were offered not only the usual new skins and Battlegrounds Season Pass, but also specific signature cards and a new Kerrigan skin. The base version of the skin also returned to the shop. This time, the offers were far more modest. Instead of specific cards, players could buy random signature cards. As the guys have already mentioned, selling mythical skins at fixed prices failed to deliver impressive results compared to distributing items through a casino-style system.
That's right. We were personally shocked by the results of our subscriber survey. We were convinced that at least the owners of the base skin would also buy the alternative version, but we were wrong. Our audience showed complete indifference to the offer. Only 1% of our subscribers collected both skin variants, and just over 0 bought the new skin as their main one.
We keep receiving more indirect evidence that selling expensive cosmetic items at fixed prices has been ineffective. The bet that leadership placed seems to have failed. Meanwhile, data from the mobile market suggests that the Darkmoon Faire Treasures event is an effective form of monetization, despite extremely negative player sentiment and strong backlash from popular community figures. The launch in China, based only on iOS data, not only offset the revenue drop in the rest of the world but even appears to have increased overall earnings, at least during release week. Had the event launched globally at the same time, the result could have been even more impressive.
By the way, guys, why do you think the event started only in China?
I think the overwhelmingly negative reaction stopped the team from rolling out a second event so quickly. Doing so might have caused genuine shock. They had to at least create the illusion of feedback, maybe tweak the system slightly,
Or simply delay the release so emotions could cool down. But there's another possibility. Perhaps player interest outside of China wasn't as strong as leadership had hoped. As a player, I still dislike the company using such methods, mainly because they directly contradict the game's original DNA. Such predatory manipulations also erode audience loyalty, create a negative atmosphere around the game, and damage its reputation. I believe this will be harmful in the long run, but this is one of those rare cases where harm to the game is at least converted into some financial stability, and that, in my opinion, partially justifies leadership's actions.
The real question is whether this compensation is stable enough, and whether it could grow into a sustainable revenue stream that would secure Hearthstone's future for another 10 years. Guys, do you think the game's revenue will actually increase this year?
Dora, you've hit the nail on the head. This success does not necessarily mean the strategy will lead to any revenue growth at all.
We might be looking at a situation where Darkmoon Faire Treasures events merely compensate for a longer-term decline in revenue, including the damage caused by introducing such manipulative mechanics in the first place. Even now, we see evidence that the positive effect of gacha-style sales is far too short-lived. On top of that, we don't know how many players who chased after the mythical Yogg Saron portrait will ultimately stop buying other cosmetics during this expansion cycle. Even the following 3 weeks after release could completely negate the initial boost, let alone the months ahead. For example, this might show up as players refusing to buy the golden version of the mini-set. And the stagnant state of competitive play could make the situation even worse. Yes, there are signs of effectiveness, but they are nowhere near as impressive when compared to teamfight tactics. A 22% weekly bump is minor, especially when set against the continuing overall decline.
I also want to clarify something else. You once promised that if you saw signs of effectiveness, you wouldn't criticize this approach. In one of our earlier videos, some players even got the impression that you were shifting responsibility for leadership's terrible decisions onto the players themselves. Following that logic, do you believe players should participate in Darkmoon Faire Treasures events to compensate for leadership's mistakes and thus extend the game's lifespan?
Let's go step by step. We truly have no intention of opposing Darkmoon Faire events, at least as long as we continue to see signs of their effectiveness. That said, our stance on gambling elements in the game has not changed.
At the same time, if you believe that the full set of rewards is worth the maximum price, we won't try to talk you out of buying it. Likewise, if you'd like to grab one of the low-tier rewards for $2, that's also your choice, and in some ways a good decision, as it gives you access to an exclusive item at a minimal cost. Players vote on monetization decisions with their wallets, not by shouting or protesting. And if you don't like an offer, that's perfectly fine. Not making a purchase is also a form of voting, as it demonstrates the offer's low effectiveness. And yes, players are not responsible for the chain of disastrous executive decisions that can push a game to the brink of collapse. But at critical moments, players can make things worse. We've seen this clearly with Marvel Snap. The blame lies with management, but the consequences eventually affect everyone, including the players. For that reason, it's important to at least be careful with our emotions regarding things that don't directly impact gameplay.
As for Hearthstone, the pile of serious issues continues to grow and is reaching a dangerous level. The situation doesn't yet look critical, but it could become so in the near future. Sadly, the team's passivity and destructive leadership decisions only make the problem worse, and that is starting to cause concern.
Many community members emphasize the importance of bringing back Twist as an alternative path to experiencing the game in a completely different way.
An experimental version of Standard, with a flexible ban system, is an obvious option. Give players the chance to try out a new experience and choose what they like more. Perhaps this format will fail. Perhaps it won't attract much interest. But at the very least, it would allow us to look at Standard from another perspective.
The dumbest part is that an alternative version of Standard within Twist could actually raise the value of cards that currently see no play in deck building. This would create an incentive for players to expand their collections, and might even have a stronger commercial effect than introducing questionable gacha elements into the game. With so many opportunities at hand, management instead chooses silence and inaction.
Dear viewers, it's time for the final question.
What do you think of the new Yogg Saron skin? Are you ready to get it, together with a pool of other rewards, for $158?
Let us know your thoughts below and join the polls in your community tab. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to support our content and stay updated.
Traditionally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors.
Dear friends, your help is invaluable. We will be grateful for any support.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.